The Grand Council Hall floated above the clouds of Resolute Prime, a world of silver towers and shimmering light. Inside, hundreds of alien delegates gathered beneath the blue glow of the Great Dome. Voices clashed like thunder. The air shimmered with the sound of power and pride. At the center of the chamber stood archivist Terran, an old scholar with pale eyes that had seen too much history. He carried a thin crystal tablet, cracked, ancient, and pulsing faintly with data. The chamber guards had mocked him as he walked in. To them, he was a relic, just like the forgotten words he carried. Terran placed the tablet on the center pedestal, and the lights flickered. A hologram formed above it, faint images of a long-dead world called Earth. Cities of glass, oceans of steel, and human faces looking toward the stars. The crowd grew restless. The prophecy of the first elders, Terran said softly, his voice echoing. It spoke of a time when the children of Earth would rise again. That time may soon be upon us. A sharp laugh broke from the front row. It came from Admiral Var, his armor gleaming with gold. Humans? He sneered. That myth again? You waste the Council's time, old one. Terran did not flinch. I speak only what the archives show. I found signals buried in the outer rim. Coordinates matching old human colonies, lost after the erasure wars. The same signals our ancestors warned us to watch for. Another counselor hissed, "Stories from a dead age." Earth burned itself to dust, the crowd murmured in agreement. For centuries, humans had been a rumor, a bedtime tale for alien children. They were said to be short-lived, emotional, reckless. But the elders' words remained, etched into the archives of every ancient world. When the stars fall silent, beware the return of the forgotten sons of Earth. Terran raised his hand and the hologram changed. The room dimmed. Static filled the air, then a sound emerged. 3 pulses, slow and deep. A coded message repeating again and again through the void. "We are returning." The words froze the chamber. For a brief moment, silence reigned. Even Var's smirk faded. "Impossible," whispered one of the elder ministers. "Those frequencies are from a dead spectrum, one that has not been used for 10,000 cycles." Terran nodded slowly. "Exactly. The humans invented it." The council began to whisper, some fearful, some mocking. But Terran stood firm. "You can laugh," he said, "but the elders knew this day would come. The humans were never gone. They went beyond our maps, beyond our reach. They have been waiting." Var slammed his fist against the table. "Waiting for what? To challenge the council? We rule half the galaxy. We have peace, order, unity." Terran looked directly at him. "Peace built on the ashes of those you erased." Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one spoke to a war hero that way, but Terran's eyes burned with quiet defiance. He turned the hologram again. Images of ancient ships appeared, primitive by modern standards, yet powerful in design. Metallic, brutal, human. They had no energy cores, no shield arrays, no harmony with the stars, Terran said. But they had will. When they fought to the end. The lights flickered once more, and the hologram showed the last known image of Earth, a blue world turning red under nuclear fire. The final transmissions of humankind, full of chaos and sorrow, played like ghosts. "We will not fade. We will rise again." The council fell silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Var's voice broke the quiet. "So what do you suggest, archivist? That we prepare for a ghost army? That we fear the dead?" Terran shook his head. "Not fear. Understand. Every great empire has fallen when it believed itself untouchable. The elders warned that the humans would be our test. If they return, it will not be as conquerors. It will be as a storm we created." Var laughed coldly. "You are an old fool." He gestured toward the guards. "Take him back to his archives before he spreads more fear." 2 guards approached, but Terran raised his hand. "One day, Admiral, you will hear that same signal again. When you do, remember this. You had a chance to listen." He picked up his cracked tablet and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed against the polished floor. Behind him, the council resumed their noise. Laughter, denial, arrogance. Outside the dome, the sky was heavy with storms. Terran looked up through the glass ceiling as lightning cracked over the clouds. He whispered the ancient words once more, almost like a prayer. "When the stars fall silent, the children of Earth will rise again." Far beyond Resolute Prime, in the cold dark between galaxies, something stirred. A faint light blinked on the scanners of forgotten satellites. One after another, old human beacons came alive, pulsing with quiet power. Deep in space, among the debris of dead worlds, a colossal shadow moved. Its hull was black, scarred, yet alive. The ship bore markings written in an ancient Earth language, letters no alien could read. And then, through the endless static of space, came the signal again. Stronger this time. We are returning. The sound reached the Council's relay stations within hours. Technicians stared in silence, unsure whether it was a glitch or a ghost. On Virelon Prime, as Terran sat alone in his archive chamber, the old crystal tablet pulsed with blue light. The ancient prophecy unlocked one final line he had never seen before, one that made his blood turn cold. Those who forget the past will meet the ones who never did. He looked out toward the stars and whispered, "They're already here." The camera would linger on Terran's face, calm, pale, and resigned, as distant flashes of movement appeared in the dark sky above Virelon. Ships, vast and silent, emerging from shadows, and thus began the return of humanity. The storm over Virelon Prime lasted for 6 cycles. Lightning painted the skies while the Council ignored every signal that came from the outer rim. They dismissed them as static, echoes of dying stars. Only archivist Terran still listened. He stayed in the old archive tower, surrounded by dust and silence, replaying the transmission that no one believed. "We are returning." Each time he heard it, the tone felt more deliberate, not a glitch but a heartbeat. Then one morning, a young technician burst into his chamber, breathless and pale. "Archivist, the signals? They're multiplying. Dozens now. Different sources. Different sectors." Terran looked at the data. The pulse pattern was identical. Perfectly timed, perfectly human. He whispered, "The storm has begun." Across the galaxy, strange reports flooded the communication networks. Mining stations went dark without distress calls. Patrol fleets vanished near the outer expanse, an abandoned region that once hosted early human colonies. When recovery ships arrived, they found planets scarred with deep, clean craters and as if cut by invisible blades. No radiation, no wreckage, just silence. In the war rooms of the Council, the admirals met again. Holograms of destruction floated above them, but the pride in their eyes remained. Admiral Var leaned back, his armor glinting under the red lights. "Pirates," he said. "Scavengers using old tricks. We will send the 7th Fleet. Let this nonsense end." A scientist named Lyra stepped forward, trembling. "With respect, Admiral, these are not pirates. We analyzed the residue. The weapon signatures are ancient, kinetic projectiles traveling at light speed. No energy plasma, no antimatter, it's primitive." "Primitive?" Var snorted. "Then it will be easy to crush." But Lyra shook her head. "No, sir. The damage is too precise. Whoever did this understands destruction better than we do." The Council murmured in unease, but Var silenced them with a glare. "Enough of this human fantasy. The prophecy is a lie. Prepare the fleet." Meanwhile, Terran watched from his archive window as the warships launched into the stormy sky. Their engines painted streaks of blue fire across the clouds. He felt no pride, only dread. He turned to his old assistant, a young alien named Ren. "Do you believe the humans still exist?" The boy asked quietly. Terran smiled sadly. "Belief is not the question. The question is whether we deserve their return." Hours later, the 7th Fleet reached the outer expanse. The region was dark, filled with drifting debris and forgotten satellites. The stars there seemed colder, sharper, almost alive. The fleet's commander sent drones to scan the area. Static filled their feeds. One by one, the drones vanished. Then the main radar picked up a faint object, a massive shadow moving slowly through the void. "Visual link now," the commander ordered. The screen flickered, and there it was, a colossal structure half hidden in darkness. Its surface was scarred, its edges glowing faintly with heat. No energy core, no active signature. But on its side, written in the oldest language in the galaxy, were 2 words that froze every being in the command deck: Terran Unity. A long silence filled the fleet's channel. Then came a voice, deep, calm, human. "Unidentified fleet, you are trespassing on Terran recovery space. Leave now." The commander's hands shook. "Identify yourself," he demanded. "This is Commander Elias Core, Terran Unity Command. You ignored the warnings. You erased our name. We are here to reclaim what was lost. Before the commander could respond, the transmission ended. The sensors went dark. In less than 30 seconds, every ship in the 7th Fleet was destroyed. When the Council heard it, panic spread like wildfire. Civilian networks whispered the forbidden name, humans. In hidden chambers, Terran met with Minister Alora, one of the few who still believed the archives. "You warned them," she said. "Now what do we do?" Terran sighed. "You cannot fight what you do not understand. And the Council has forgotten what humans are." "What are they?" she asked. He looked out the window at the storm clouds swirling around the capital. "Survivors," he said. "The only kind who learned from extinction." Days passed. The Council tried to control the rumors. They declared martial law in several sectors. News of the fleet's destruction was buried under official lies. But the signals continued at now stronger, now closer. "We are returning." Across the outer systems, entire planets began receiving short encrypted transmissions. Some said they were warnings. Others said they were invitations. But all carried the same seal, the emblem of Earth, a blue sphere surrounded by 13 stars. The people started to whisper. If humans truly had survived, if they were strong enough to destroy a fleet in seconds, what would they want now? Revenge? Justice? Or something worse? Terran sat alone, recording his findings into the archive. "The prophecy is unfolding," he said softly. "The galaxy that once feared humans now trembles at their silence." He paused, staring into the darkness beyond his window. Somewhere in that darkness, the first Terran fleet moved, unseen, unstoppable, ancient and new all at once. And though no one could hear them yet, their signal pulsed through every forgotten corner of the stars. "We are returning." The galaxy had not known true fear for centuries. Empires rose and fell, but order always returned. The Council believed it could never end, but when the first Terran fleet appeared, everything changed. On the border world of Kalian 5, night fell too early. The sky turned red as 1,000 streaks of light burned through the atmosphere. Locals looked up, thinking it was a meteor storm. But the stars were moving in formation, slow, deliberate, controlled. From orbit, the Kalian defense officers saw what no one thought possible. Ships, hundreds of them, emerged from hyperspace without jump gates, without any detectable energy distortion. It was as if they had simply arrived. Each ship bore the same emblem, a silver globe surrounded by 13 faint stars. The mark of Earth, the Terran flagship, the Resolute, dwarfed every known vessel. It was kilometers long, shaped like an iron cathedral adrift in the dark. Its hull reflected no light. Its engines whispered instead of roared. It looked ancient, yet beyond anything modern science could build. When the planetary scanners tried to lock onto it, their systems crashed instantly. When defense satellites powered their weapons, every circuit melted in silence. The humans did not fire. They only sent a single message, short and haunting. "We are not your enemy, unless you make us one." The Council, terrified and desperate, summoned every fleet across its territories. Tens of thousands of ships gathered near the Kalian sector. Admiral Var stood at the center of the command chamber, his armor polished, his pride unshaken. He pointed to the hologram of the human fleet. "Primitive metal. No plasma cores, no quantum fields. They use ancient propulsion. Crush them, and let this myth die once and for all." But the younger officers hesitated. They had seen the reports. Entire fleets erased without radiation or debris. "Admiral," one whispered, "what if the stories are true? What if they evolved differently?" Var's glare silenced him. "Fire everything we have." The order went out. In the next hour, the Council unleashed more firepower than had been used in any war since the Dawn era. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, particle storms, all aimed at a single Terran fleet. And yet, every shot vanished before reaching its target. The space around the humans shimmered like water. Their ships absorbed the attacks as if swallowing light itself. Then slowly the Terran fleet responded. They did not fire plasma. They did not use antimatter. They launched solid projectiles, metal slugs the size of small aircraft moving so fast they were invisible. One shot struck a Council dreadnought. It did not explode, it simply disappeared, compressed into itself in a burst of impossible gravity. Within minutes, half the Council fleet was gone. The humans did not pursue. They moved forward calmly like shadows reclaiming their home. Inside the Resolute, Commander Elias Kor watched the destruction unfold through the bridge glass. His face was calm, his voice steady. "Mark the wreckage. Send aid pods to survivors. We came to remind, not to slaughter." A younger officer turned to him. "Sir, they will never understand. They think we're monsters." Kor's expression hardened. "Then let them see what they made." Across the ship's command screen, a single message blinked. Transmission from the Council capital. The image flickered to life, showing the Grand Council chamber. Var appeared, his face red with rage. "You dare invade our space? You dare threaten the peace we built?" Kor leaned forward slightly. "Peace built on silence is not peace. You erased us. You hunted us. You called it order, but you left the seeds of your own fear," Var snarled. "We will not bow to ghosts." Kor's tone turned colder. "Ghosts do not build fleets. Ghosts do not survive extinction. You ignored the prophecy, Admiral. You made it real." Before Var could answer, Kor ended the transmission. Moments later, Terran warships began to descend toward Kalian's surface, but they did not attack. Instead, they landed near the ruins of an old colony, one built thousands of years ago, back when humans still roamed the stars before the Erasure War. The soldiers who stepped out wore black armor without symbols, their visors reflecting the orange dust. They moved with perfect coordination, scanning the ruins like archaeologists, not conquerors. One of them found a weathered monument half buried in the sand. The inscription read, "Here stood the last colony of Earthkind." The soldier touched it gently, then saluted. "We're home," he whispered. In orbit, news spread faster than light. Worlds panicked. Civilians began abandoning border planets. Some prayed to the ancient legends, others cursed them. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Council lost control of fear. Archivist Terran, now confined to his chambers for spreading human panic, watched the transmissions in silence. Through the window he could see faint flashes of light in the distance, battles between Council fleets and unknown shadows. He recorded his thoughts into his personal log. The prophecy said humanity would not return for conquest, but for remembrance. The Council believed power would save them. They forgot that humans never fought for power. They fought to never be forgotten. That night, as he drifted to uneasy sleep, the lights of the sky changed again. Dozens of Terran ships appeared over distant worlds, hovering silently above alien cities. They did not open fire. They simply stayed, watching. Everywhere they appeared, one message played through the old frequencies. "We remember." On every world, those words echoed like thunder. By dawn, half the galaxy had gone dark. The Council fleets retreated. Communications collapsed. In the heart of chaos, humanity had not spoken vengeance, only truth. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what the prophecy had really meant. The elders had never warned of human destruction. They had warned of human return. Because when humanity remembered, no one could stop what followed. As the sons of Kalian rose behind the colossal silhouette of the Resolute, Commander Kor whispered to his crew, "Begin Phase 2. It is time to speak with the galaxy." And far across the void, Archivist Terran woke to the trembling ground and knew the humans were not done. The prophecy was still unfolding. The war never truly began, because humanity never allowed it to. By the time the Council prepared its defenses, most of its fleets had already fallen or surrendered. Entire systems went dark not from destruction, but from silence. No one could see the humans coming. They didn't use warp tunnels or hyperlanes. Their ships appeared where they wished, bending the laws that had governed the galaxy for 1,000,000 years. It was as if they had learned to command the very space between stars. In the Council capital, the remaining ministers huddled in panic. Every screen flickered with warnings, cities vanishing, power grids collapsing, entire planets cut off. And yet not a single human bomb had fallen. Admiral Var stood before the central viewport, his once golden armor scorched from failed battles. Behind him, the Council members whispered in fear. "They could have wiped us out," one said. "Why haven't they?" Var turned sharply. "Because they enjoy watching us crumble," he said through clenched teeth. They want us to beg. But even he didn't sound certain anymore. Outside the chamber, the sky above Virelon Prime turned black. A shadow covered the sun. Then, with a sound like thunder rolling through space, the Terran flagship Resolute entered orbit. It was so vast it blotted out the stars. Its engines hummed softly, steady and patient like a living heartbeat. Every sensor in the city went dead. Every weapon failed. The capital stood defenseless beneath the silent watchers of Earth. Inside the Resolute, Commander Elias Kor gazed down at the shining towers of the Council world. "No bombardment," he ordered. "Open communications." A screen came alive before him. The Council chamber appeared, Vakar and the other leaders frozen in shock as the human's face filled the display. "Who are you to judge us?" Vakar demanded, though his voice trembled. "What gives you the right to come here with your machines and threats?" Kor's eyes were calm, colder than the void. "We gave you warnings," he said. "Long before your council existed, our ancestors reached for the stars. When they met others, they sought peace. But you, your kind, feared us. You tried to erase us. You called it the Erasure War." He paused, letting the silence press down like gravity. "You failed." Minister Alora, standing beside Vakar, dared to speak. "If this is revenge, then take it quickly. But do not pretend this is justice." Kor looked at her through the screen. "Justice?" he repeated softly. "Justice died when you buried Earth under your lies." He turned slightly, motioning to his crew. A new projection appeared beside him. Images from human archives long lost. Burning cities, shattered colonies, and council warships firing on refugee transports. "You called us savages," he said. "Yet it was you who burned children's worlds to keep your power." Vakar slammed his fist on the table. "Lies, we brought order." Kor's voice cut through him like ice. "You brought silence." The feed shifted again. Now it showed the outer colonies, freshly rebuilt under human hands, green fields, oceans, and settlements rising from ruins. "We did not come to destroy," Kor said. "We came to remember, and to remind you that we are not gone." Terran appeared at the edge of the council chamber, escorted by guards. His eyes widened as he saw the human commander. "You truly returned," he whispered. Kor nodded slightly. "Archivist Terran, the only one who listened." The guard stepped back as Terran moved forward. "What will you do now?" he asked quietly. Kor's answer was simple. "Decide what kind of galaxy will exist after this day." He turned to his officers. "Deploy the beacon." Outside, the Terran fleet began releasing hundreds of small satellites. They surrounded the council world in perfect formation. Beams of light linked them together, forming a massive symbol in the sky. The globe and 13 stars of old Earth, glowing white against the darkness. Every world in the galaxy saw it. Every transmission, every broadcast, every signal was replaced by a single human voice. Calm, strong, impossible to ignore. "We are humanity. We remember. We have returned not to rule but to remind. The galaxy belongs to no empire, no council, no species. It belongs to all who dare to dream, and to remember their past." Across 1,000 systems, beings of every race watched in silence. Some wept, others fell to their knees. The name human, once whispered like a curse, now carried the weight of myth reborn. Inside the chamber, Vakar sank into his seat, trembling. "What have we done?" he muttered. Terran turned to him, voice steady. "You forgot who they were, and now they've made you remember." Moments later, the signal ended. The Terran fleet began to move, slowly rising, disappearing one by one into the black sea of stars. Before leaving orbit, the Resolute sent one final transmission, a fragment of Earth's anthem, ancient and beautiful, echoing across the void. It carried no threat, no warning, only memory. On Virelon's surface, people poured into the streets, staring at the night sky where the Terran fleet had been. For the first time in living memory, the stars felt different, alive, aware, human. Terran walked to the balcony overlooking the capital. The wind carried a faint hum from the departing ships. He closed his eyes and whispered the words carved into the old prophecy stone. "When the stars fall silent, the children of Earth shall rise again." He opened his eyes to the horizon, where the last human vessel faded into the dawn light. "They rose," he said softly, "and now the galaxy will never forget them." In the distant void, Commander Kor stood at the viewport of the Resolute, watching the fading glow of the council world. A young officer approached him. Sir, where to next? Kor smiled faintly. Where we began, he said. Home. The stars stretched before them, endless and waiting. And as the Terran fleet vanished into hyperspace, one last signal rippled across the galaxy. A simple phrase carried on ancient frequencies. We are humanity. We remember. The prophecy was fulfilled, the legend reborn, and the galaxy at last remembered the name human.